Hello, everyone, and welcome to a mini edition of the Winging It F1 podcast. Joining myself, Nigel Chu. I've got Freddie Coates with me because Kevin Magnussen is back in Formula One. It's fantastic news. He's going to replace Nikita Mazepin after Mazepin was dropped earlier this week. Freddie, what's your immediate reaction to this news?
Oh, I think it's great. I look at it and think, well, that's the obvious choice, isn't it? Get the guy who was in that seat beforehand back. And it's fantastic. It's really good, inspired signing for Haas to get back who arguably has been the best driver they've had in that seat since the team's inception. In a seat since the team's inception, definitely performed the best, definitely had their best driver's position in a championship in 2018 and led them convincingly to that position of fifth in the Constructors' Championship in 2018. So I think it's a fantastic signing. I'm really happy to see him back.
Absolutely. He was originally meant to drive in for Peugeot in the World Endurance Championship this year, and he was meant to do a full IMSA Championship as well with Chip Ganassi, but he's been released from both of those contracts. So I think that was the biggest hurdle Haas had to face, was could they get Magnussen out of those contracts? They have. They said they wanted someone experienced. So he's really the perfect fit for the job, alongside Mick Schumacher, who's only had one season under his belt. What do you think of the other reasons Haas have chosen K-Mag?
What do I think of the other reasons? I think, well, he's just a good driver. I think there's nothing more than that. I think he's a guy who knows the team really well. He's a really good driver. He's someone they were able to get quickly. Chip Ganassi and Peugeot were able to release him very quickly because Chip Ganassi, as a guy, just understands racing and he understands the need for, understands when Formula One comes calling. And Peugeot has become a bit of a delay after delay after delay. If you've been following their intro into WEC closely, they're not going to be competing in Le Mans, and that's in June. So if they hold him onto a contract, then he won't be doing any racing until arguably August. So there's no reason for them to keep him in that seat for so long and restrict him. And it's just an easy guy to get. Very good, very handy, very capable. The team love him. There's a little video that Haas put on social media showing him already arrived in Bahrain. So all of this has been sort of time ago. And we were all sitting here chatting about, maybe Giovinazzi will get the shape. But already catching up with his old friends in that garage, and they're happy to have him. And it's just going to give that team just a lift, just an absolute lift. It's going to be his fifth season with the team. He'll become the most experienced driver at that team, surpassing Grosjean. So yeah, very, very good for them. Very good.
Yeah, I don't always agree with everything you say about F1 Trandy, but I've got to agree with everything you've said there. He is a very good driver. He didn't really fully deserve to leave. When he did leave at the end of 2020, he still could have been on the grid. It's just that's obviously at that time we're going through some financial troubles and stuff like that, and Schumacher was on the rise. So it's great to have him back. It does mean Pietro Fittipaldi hasn't got the seat. Do you think this was probably his last chance or only chance to get into F1, Freddie?
Yeah, I think so. I think for a race seat, I think none of us really would have considered him unless it was a situation like this where the races are so close. I think really for Pietro, his best bet is the misfortune of others now, which is a bit of a shame. For him, he's not going to be hoping for that. He's going to be sort of hoping for a situation like, oh no, there's an ash cloud or something. So he's perfectly healthy.
That's a throwback to 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's perfectly healthy, but he can't race. Here I am. And so's the car. It's here. It's that kind of thing. It's just the reserve driver's quandary, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen him have a go. I would have loved it because I'm a champion of these kind of drivers, these drivers who are just left field and are handy. But, I do think if I were the team boss, I would choose Magnussen over Fittipaldi. They've still got Fittipaldi for as much of the testing as they can do tomorrow, Thursday. We don't know how much they're going to run, but they're all there, and who knows, maybe they'll be able to do the majority of the day. They're definitely banking on doing the afternoon session at least.
Yeah.
So Fittipaldi will do that while they seat fit Magnussen, get them all up to spec with a 2022 Formula One car and the systems they've got in the car now. What's different with Ferrari and so on, and then him and Schumacher will run the last 2 days. Whether they do Schumacher Friday, Magnussen Saturday, or split the running, I don't know. I'd imagine I feel like it would be better to split the running. Just for Magnussen, he won't be at F1 fitness level. I mean, he'll be a very fit racing driver, and he raced in the Daytona in 24 hours and nearly won that, I'm pretty sure. So he's going to be a fit racing driver who's definitely going to be fine. But there's something about an F1 car that just is the next level on that comparatively to a prototype DPI sports car. But he'll equip himself fine. Maybe he'll take a race or two to get back to it, but it's not like he's familiarizing himself with an entirely different car. The Haas processes are the processes he spent the most time with in Formula One. He did something like 80 races with them. So those are going to be second nature to him. I reckon he'll be surprised at how much it comes back to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. And we saw Fernando Alonso. Yes, he didn't quite get up to speed fully in the first half of the season last year after he came back. But the first race in Bahrain, he had the upper hand on Ocon then. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw something similar. In fact, how do you think he will stack up against Schumacher? And what does this mean for Schumacher as well? It's the first time we're going to see a proper head-to-head, because ultimately Mazepin was quite far behind last year.
That's exactly my thoughts on that. It's the proper head-to-head for Mick, and I think that's exactly what Mick needs. I think he's lucky it's coming a second season, not his first. But it would be very good for Mick just to have that competition. Really, I think it'd be good for us to see. It'd be a nice little battle like you get with teammates. Obviously, there was a lot of friction between Schumacher and Mazepin last year, and it did get to quite a head sort of mid-season, mid to late season. So who knows whether the famously quite hot-headed, well, not hot-headed, but I'd say firm Magnussen would go in a similar route, because I'd say a lot of the bad moves that Mazepin was criticised for last year were moves that Magnussen didn't shy away from, let's say. So who knows? Maybe racing in sports cars and doing a bit more winning would have changed that. Maybe not. Who knows? But either way, I reckon you'll see two closer teammates, and you'll see a Haas car and a Haas team with a lot of oomph behind them and a lot of willingness to push forward. It's K-Mag's second chance in F1. He's a lucky bugger, really.
Yeah, he's lucky, but you got to make the most of your fortune in this game, as we both know. So, and I think this is the first really big positive news that everything I've seen anyway has been positive about for Haas for quite a long time as well. So, the great signing, and I think I can see Magnussen and Schumacher pushing each other on as well. And if that means they can get into Q2 consistently, or even score points every 3 or 4 races, that'll be fantastic. So after the period of, difficulty, Haas, to say the least, this is a stepping stone for possibly a pretty decent year for them. So I think everything is positive about it. And if that's the case, then you can't really argue against that, I don't think.
Makes you think they can finally have that season they've been dying to have since the end of 2018, really. 2018 was a really good season where things went a bit awry at points and could have yielded more. And 2019 should have yielded more and didn't. And then obviously 2020, they were losing money hand over fist. They were close to folding. 2021 was a write-off, but they had funding, and that funding's gone towards a 2022 car, which we were all right with in Barcelona when it was running. Obviously, it had a bit of unreliability, but if if that can be built upon, really, it's a handy car. Let's be honest. From what we saw in Barcelona, obviously, the field spread is going to be completely different in Bahrain. But who knows? Who knows? I really do hope you're right, and there are Q2 appearances and points every few races, because these two drivers, it's a really good lineup. It moves them up it moves Haas up a position for me in best driver lineup.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same. Yeah, that experience alone of Magnussen is a massive factor to have compared to Mazepin. So, yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And I think the key for the test was just to get Magnussen up to speed as much as possible, get to miles under the car, because ultimately they did finish 10th, which was last in the Barcelona test. So I think that'll be the key. They are going to miss a few hours on the first day. But if they can have no problems, then there's no reason why they can't perform well in the first race. So,
he's no stranger to late jump-ins, is K-Mag. He had to in Australia in 2015 to jump in for an injured Fernando Alonso at McLaren Honda, and he was something like half a second off Button in an awful car. But that's Jenson Button, who's a McLaren specialist. So that's fair enough as a gap for a car you've not driven. He came into Renault really late and got on board with the systems there immensely quickly, I think, from memory. He had testing at least most of then, but he had testing a week after he signed a contract. Didn't have any simulator time really. So obviously,
even on his F1 debut, he finished on the podium on his debut.
He did. He overtake Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, exactly. So even that just shows, and the two examples you just said there, it shows that he can adapt quickly, which is a great skill to have for any racing driver. So yeah,
it's a fantastic skill, and it's a skill that hopefully will help him in this new era of F1 cars. His third generation of F1 car, really. It's mad to think that he's been in F1 that long, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
I still kind of think of Kevin Magnussen as a bit of a new boy, but he's not at all. He's going into what will be his 8th season in F1, I think, on the top of my head. No.
14.
It'll be his 7th season if you don't count the one-off in 2015. And, it's very good. He's only 29, so good for him. Multi-year contract, actually. We should discuss that.
Yeah. Multi-year contract, that's a big thing.
That's one of the most surprising things for me.
What do you take from that?
I take from that Haas are firmly putting everything else behind them and firmly looking forward into the future with everything. And everything you do, Raikkonen with Nikita Mazepin, that's gone. That's old news. He's not even on their something which no one will be privy to really, but maybe apart from us, but on their media website, they have. I saw this a few days ago, and they have their past drivers like stats and stuff, and they had it for Roman, they had it for Kevin, and they had it for Mick. They've taken everything details off Nikita Mazepin off that. They're really firmly sacking that off to the past, and keep bringing Kevin Magnussen on for some time is a commitment to the team that they're it's a commitment from Haas, the owner, and from Steiner, that they're not going to be messing around with any more like dodgy sponsors. Dodgy's the end goal word, but just they're not going to look at the check first and ask questions later, because that's got them in hot water. They're going to put the team first, and they're going to bring Magnussen in and say, we know this is a driver you get on with, that you like, that we all rate here, that we think is really fast, you gets on with us, and is a proper member of the Haas team. He's not just a plug and play teenager. He's a member of Haas. And it says to every person on the ground, in the factory, on the track side, wherever, if you're in Maranello, if you're in Banbury, wherever you are, it says to any employee of Haas, yeah, we mean business. Come on, guys, let's do it. And it G's that team up to another level that they aren't really going to have had since 2018 in my books.
Absolutely. And for Magnussen himself, he is only 29, like you say, so he should be coming into the peak of his career, although the peak of everyone's career is different, it seems. I mean, look at Hamilton, he's 37. He's still stronger than ever. Alonso's 40. So Magnussen could theoretically be in F1 for another 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think.
It's not that
So,
kind of podcast episode.
but yeah, I mean, if he
imagine.
performs well, then other teams will look at him. Or if Haas improve, then he might as well just stay for as long as he can.
Yeah, he may as well. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't stay for a long time. Now he didn't perform badly. Really, the reason he wasn't there was because they couldn't afford to keep a professional driver. They had to take a paid driver. But really, it's worked out pretty well for Magnussen. He did the year out when the car was at its worst. They developed a car with all the money that the driver they don't even have anymore, which is a fun bit of irony, if you're into that kind of thing. So, I think I'm excited for Magnussen. I'm really excited for him. I think it's nice to feel good about Haas again.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited for Magnussen, excited for Haas, excited for the test that's coming up. It will be on Thursday. So,
yes.
3 days of testing. We will be back after it at the weekend at some point to review it all and talk about the season ahead, which is now just 10 days away. So,
goodness me,
it's time to get ready.
Yeah.
So,
time to get ready for F1.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So until after the test, enjoy it if you can watch it on Sky Sports F1 and F1 TV, depending on where you live. We will be back after that. So until then, we will see you next time.